Welcome to the Be That Healing Girl podcast. And on this episode today, we're going to talk about why working harder isn't changing your anxious attachment. I'm going to even say that it probably is definitely not helping your relationship. It's making it feel much harder than it needs to be. And this is going to be a great episode for you if you tend to feel like if I can just figure this out, if I can just work a little harder, or put more elbow grease into this relationship, it's all going to work out, right? I'll feel better if I can just fix this. And it can look like being in bed, you just got your, it's in the dark and you got your notes app open and you're just kind of like trying to figure out the text, or maybe you have the text message thread open and you're just like, reworking and rehashing and using different words and how would I say this in the text message. And or it can look like, okay, I'm just going to map out in my journal this conversation or what's happening, and it feels really productive. All of these things feel really, really productive, right? Like, in fact, I would say try to get in my way in the past. Don't get in my way of trying to do those things. And you spend a lot of time editing your messages or going over the conversation in your head, or how did this sound or land, or what am I going to do? And a lot of it is in really working on sounding secure and not being needy, right? And it often can feel like you're the one carrying so much of the emotional load in the relationship. And because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Right? That's at least what I would tell myself. And the confusing part here is you might be a really great person. Like, you might be able to kind of coach yourself through and talk yourself through it. You might even be a bit of the go-to person in your friend group or your family. Like, oh, I'll just go to so-and-so. They'll come to you because you're really good at kind of spotting things. And at the same time, you are really not good at taking your own medicine. You might even know in yourself internally that you don't want to put pressure on your partner. You don't want to push them. You might know that very logically. And at the same time, you just can't help but say the thing, right? You can't help but at the end of a great weekend, it's kind of just been bubbling up and you just go, blah, you got to say it, right? You got to talk about being exclusive. Or you got to talk about when are we moving in, right? And another layer to this is you feel like you're doing a lot of work, right? You're doing the journaling, you're doing hot person walks, you're reading the books, and it can actually be what drives us a little crazy. Like, we can actually feel a little insane because nothing could be technically wrong, right? Like, maybe they've told you like things are fine, like it's cool, no big deal, and you cannot let it go, right? And you might end up thinking to yourself, well, why can't I just relax? Like, you want to be relaxed. It's when I would teach yoga, it's like, hurry up and relax. When people coming in last minute, it's not the same thing as feeling relaxed. And I totally get that it feels really healthy. It feels really productive to be working in the relationship, to do the emotional load. And, you're probably saying to yourself, I can work really hard this relationship. I am working really hard. I'm going to give it my all. I can be the best girlfriend or boyfriend or, in the relationship. I'm going to be the best one ever, right? You might even really feel that. That might also be some of the truth. And if that is anything that you're going through, then you're in the right place. If it feels familiar, then you're here. Perfect. And if you're new here, my name is Claire. I'm a relationship coach, and I love helping high achieving, high performing. That's kind of key for this episode too. People who are, while you are doing so well in your career, in your respective field, in your book of business, in getting the letters behind your name, in hitting your metrics and your numbers, and building the business and the portfolio, while you're doing really great in that area, you are really not feeling great with how much you feel like you have to work in the relationship. And at the same time, and at the end of the day, you're feeling really stuck and still really anxious about the relationship. You're still overthinking. You're wondering why it has to feel so hard. You wish you you could just like relax and not think about what's going on, trust when they say that they care about you, but but you're still feeling like it's a really hard time. So that's you. I love that you're here. We're gonna get some clarity today. So one thing that I know for sure, right? And this is like a common loop and a common pattern that I see, right? So this is typically what happens. So usually starts off with you feel some distance, right? They're feeling the vibes feeling a little off. And then you're like, okay, if I'm just gonna I'm gonna work harder, like you're like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Or you feel like you have to literally do something, like I'm gonna make them dinner, or I'm gonna do something nice for them. And instead of trying to relax, right, you might go into like you're trying to fix the tone, or maybe how you time what you want to bring up. You're really trying to figure out, okay, they have this big trip coming up and they're doing this and they're stressed out with work, like I don't know, and maybe if I say it the right way, maybe if I can just figure out the right way to say it, or how can I say it in a way that doesn't make them upset. And you're spending a lot of time doing that. And then what ends up happening is you're over explaining. You're probably just talking about it way, way, way too much. Like instead of just giving them the highlight, you are going into how do I want to say this? The thesis. you're giving them the thesis on what you think is happening, and you might feel better, right? I know I was just talking to a new client, and she was like, I couldn't help it. I just had to say it, and it really felt like she just had to get it out, and immediately like felt relief in that moment, but really it didn't work out well, right? And so you can feel this temporary relief. You might even feel really exhausted, right? You spent a lot of time kind of holding it in. You said the thing, you did the thing, and it's, oh, okay, I got it out. And then right back on the loop. Because now you said something, now they're feeling distant. Now you got to work harder, and it's just like on and on and on. It's a vicious kind of cycle. And this is the part where working harder isn't changing your anxious attachment, because you're working so hard, but in the relationship, when it's time to actually relax or sit with or be present even, it feels literally impossible. It feels like you just can't. And even noticed this for myself. This showed up for me recently with our upcoming trip. We literally leave here in a few days to go to the Philippines. And there's a big kind of opportunity where Craig's going to meet my dad. And I even noticed this in myself. And I realized that I was kind of in this place where I was like pretending I was okay, right? I was even just kind of like, I didn't know that I was not okay. So I kind of, first of all, realized that, whoa, Craig and I probably need to have a conversation around what's going to happen. And I needed to share with him and let him know like what was coming up for me, what I was experiencing, what I was anticipating, what I was scared of, and just all in all, what was happening inside of me with this big opportunity coming up. And I really noticed this same old habit where I was telling myself unconsciously that I got to work really hard at figuring this out by myself, right? Like I got to figure out what needs to happen for myself. And in reality, it's this old habit where I was missing out on an opportunity to actually let Craig fully support me. Like I was trying to do all this heavy lifting by myself. And so we were able, thank goodness, to have a really connected conversation. And this is something, again, that I really realized, which is when you're a high achiever, we tend to fall into this trap or in this pattern of performing being secure, right? We perform security. Like, I'm just going to pretend like everything's cool, everything's fine. And performing security, pretending that you're secure, pretending that you're fine is very different than actually being secure. All right. So high achievers, high performers, we tend to perform. We tend to work hard. We tend to put on this mask that we're okay instead of actually being secure or being confident or being really okay. So it's like, just because you say you're okay does not mean you're okay. And high achievers, we tend to fall into this trap where, again, we're just performing versus being. And this is where being a hard worker and a high achiever really bites us in the butt, okay? For example, you know it's not urgent, right? So maybe something small has happened. There's something that's kind of eating at you, right? And at the same time, because you're used to working hard, you kind of bring it up, right? You still have to bring it up instead of kind of sitting with it. And you know nothing is maybe technically wrong, and at the same time you still latch on to it, right? You still want to pick it apart. You still you're like a little French bulldog. You can't let it go. And one of the things that I notice is kind of inevitable when we're in that cycle and in that pattern is you don't have a lot of mental capacity, right? So, for example, this is so common with my one-on-one clients, and this is something that we are able to kind of work on, which is freeing up your mental capacity, like literally the mental load, where you if you're deep in the pattern, you are spending a lot of time. Like, I have this funny saying around doing what would typically take 2 hours of work takes 10 hours, right? You're kind of just, you're doing your job, you're doing the things, but you are definitely not feeling free. It feels really heavy, right? And not only that, can this affect your productivity and your ability to just not only execute at your job? And I mean, you're doing great at your job, but really, you're not probably living the life, the full, rounded, beautiful, expansive life that you really want to, because you're using so much time and energy and brain calories and literal emotional lifting in the relationship when you really don't have to. And it can feel like this full-time job. It can feel like this full-time project that you're working on. And the hard truth of this is that you probably are trying to solve the relationship instead of experiencing the relationship. You're trying to solve the love instead of experiencing the love that's right there in front of you. And a lot of times when we're kind of programmed or conditioned to work really hard, this is kind of like when I was in elementary school, I had a crush on this cute boy, and I had this recipe. I mean, I don't even think I really had a recipe. I think I just was like, okay, I'm going to make him cookies. And I had all my ingredients and I dumped them all in a bowl and I mixed it up and I was like, cookies. And they were horrible. I mean, I didn't wet, dry. No, I put them all together, all in one. It was like hardtack with like little chocolate chips in it, right? And that's a lot of times what happens, right? We are, instead of letting these separate ingredients kind of putting the sequence together, we're just kind of throwing it all in a bowl and crossing our fingers and hoping for the best, right? Or like working hard is like overworking the dough, overworking. I'm not into sourdough. I know some friends are. If you're elder millennial like me, like you may have like, oh, I love sourdough. But you're like, instead of letting the dough rest, you're just kind of beating that dough up until it's like just a rock, right? And that can feel like the relationship too. Instead of it feeling easy and fluffy and light and delightful, it is like a rock. It feels so, so heavy. And this is where, if you want love to actually feel easy and fun and delightful, that working hard, what that does is it sucks out all of that. It literally, when you work hard and you are over functioning and you're doing too much, instead of the relationship ending up being easy and fun, it feels really heavy and hard. And we can suck all the fun, we can suck all the spontaneity, we suck all of the connection right out of that relationship, because we're literally like a piece of sourdough. We're just working the heck out of it, right? We're just beating that thing up. So if you are a hard worker, then and that's your pattern, one thing I know is working harder isn't going to break the pattern. So I am sending you lots of love, and there's links below to help. Mwah.